Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. Oh, sorry about that. Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Luke Arrigoni. Luke, it's great to connect with you. I'm looking forward to our talk. You're the CEO of Arricor AI. I love talking about AI. I want to give everybody a quick review of you. Over the last 15 years, you have worked with some of the top brands in the United States, building machine learning and data science programs. Even before there was such a term, you worked with companies like UPS, J&J, Getty, AT&T, Stryker, Goldman Sachs, Fox, Sephora, along with many others. So let's talk about machine learning and AI. I love talking about it because it's the future and it is current yet seems still so futuristic, right? And so I think we're starting to see many of us with the bots that they have in place that are texting you, that know the common most asked questions and things of that nature. But just kind of define a little bit how things are moving in that direction so people can understand kind of just a little bit of the layman terms of it.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
So yeah, I think machine learning, it gets a bad rap. AI, right? Well, most time we think about like killer robots and things of that nature, but there's actually a really practical use for it in business right now, which is can you solve one very finite problem? And so what people will do is they basically will have a data science team, or they'll have machine learning engineers that try to tackle one single problem. It might be like predict the next item added to a cart. Like, it's very granular. And then you build a model around that one item. And so, the state of AI is just tackling tiny little tasks one at a time. And in fact, if you have a car that drives itself, it has like 30 different AIs on it. We call them models.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone that's listening, it's really about trying to break down really big problems into much smaller ones. And then you build models for each of the small problems and compose them together.
Okay. I love that. And so, so how can just an average company start utilizing AI or machine learning into what they do on a day-to-day basis?
So I think the biggest area of concern, or like where you need to make strategic decisions as a mid-sized company or a smaller company, is really around your vendors. Your vendors are going to be touting their AIs. This is going to be a big part of your decision making and whether or not you go with one versus another. And I think I would press everyone to be cautious about vendor claims around it. So I would make them prove it, in a way that you can see it. Don't assume that every startup that says they can do something with machine learning can actually do it.
Yeah.
So if that is your one major, like, yes, we're going to go with this company, they're going to win our RFP because they do this thing, just make sure that it can actually do that.
Yeah.
There's kind of a lot of snake oil right now, and you have to be mindful of that in this new industry.
Yeah. Let's talk about something, because one of the things I love data. I love the art and science of business. As a business coach, I love looking at both pieces of it. And one of the things as a business coach that I rely on a lot is my intuition. And sometimes I'll back up that intuition and that thought with a fact, because it's hard to negotiate facts. And one of the things I see with companies is they have a lot of data and they don't know what to do with it. They intuitively know that this data means something, but they don't know what to do with it. One of my favorite stories is Sam Walton, who founded Walmart. Everybody would bring him all this data and tell him what to do. And he realized people in the boardroom weren't even the clients of Walmart. So he would go to the diner, have cake and coffee, pie and coffee with his customers, come back and filter out the data that didn't make sense, right? That was his form of what I'll call AI back in the day.
Yeah.
And so, how do you and your company with machine learning and AI take that data and make sense of it for clients?
Yeah. So this is actually a really good point. Is that most people, when they have all the data, they really don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Or at best they have.
I think they think they know what to do with it.
I was about to say, yeah. At best they have an intuition around like what I think I can be done, right? But like, I don't expect VP of sales to be able to come to me and say, this is the neural net architecture that I need for our data, right? Like, that's right. It's not like you're good at something, my team is good at something, right? And so we have to be able to speak different languages. And one of the languages we really speak is customer. And like, what does your customer want?
I like
so
that,
we will try to understand your business. And this applies to all data science. Even if you have an internal data science team, you should look for these kinds of processes. This isn't just specific to us, right? Which is when you start something with machine learning or AI, make sure that the person that does that truly understands your business, so they understand what's really trying to be accomplished. Because unlike other things where you could tell a software developer, hey, just put the add to cart button in this corner, they don't really have to know your whole bigger business. Data science is a little different. You do want them to understand we're trying to get customers to click on this thing in the email, right? And then they can go off and build models to try and achieve that goal. Make sure you enlist them as true partners and not like as technical agents, because you will have misses constantly.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So when you are a company listening to this and you're hearing data science and things of that nature, how do you approach it, or how should they hear it so it doesn't sound so intimidating?
Got it. So you probably have a huge collection of data somewhere, and most likely you might have an idea of how you want to approach it in terms of like, or not how to approach it, but what you want to get out of it. Like we keep using the example of predicting what item will add to cart, because then you could advertise on the side or put it in an email, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to get all your data, and you want to give them to, maybe if you don't have a data scientist, you should talk to your engineering team. There's usually people in this stage of the industry that have some kind of knowledge. They've taken some course on machine learning, and they're looking to kind of rise into that role. And so I would look to your engineering department and say, is anyone interested in this? And then say, this is the data, this is what I want. And then first have them do a POC. So this is like 2 weeks where they take the data, they try to apply their knowledge and see if there's something that can be done to accomplish that. And if the 2-week thing goes well, you want to measure precision, accuracy, and recall, right? And those are things we can go through if we had a ton more time, but we don't.
Right.
But basically you want to measure these things. And if they meet the threshold, then you would try and build that 2-week thing into a much bigger project.
Yeah, I love it. Let's talk a little bit about you. How, I believe that success is not a straight line. I'm a business coach. I work with successful, solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies and everything in between. And I work with successful people who are stuck and get them unstuck. And so I believe that success is never a straight line. So what's your 60-second Reader's Digest version of what got you to be the CEO and founder of this company?
Probably there was a lot of opportunities for me to blame something else. And I think for me, one of the hardest journeys has been to just like look inward and say, how could I have been a better manager? Or how could I have been a better salesman or whatever? And I know that sounds trite, but it really is actually a difficult process, right? Like this idea around having something really bad fail and then just be like, man, it was so painful. I never want to have that failure again. So how can I do anything in the world, including change myself, to never feel that failure? And that process has been a pretty complicated journey. But, I think that a lot of the gains I've got came out of that. Like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I realized I was managing people the way I wanted to be managed. And that was a problem, right? Because not everyone wants to be managed how I manage, right? I'm like high touch. I'm not high touch. I'm like high level, not low touch. I don't really want to get down in the weeds. It's like very meritocratic. It's like, you just do it. And if it's done, it's done. Some people don't like that. They need more direction, more hand holding. And that's not a good or bad thing. But like this idea around like I was managing myself was something that was my fault, not my employee's fault.
Yeah.
And so I had to make big changes from that.
I love it. All right, quick speed round. Favorite book and why?
I love Kurt Vonnegut, so I know it's not perfect for this, but the idea, actually I have a great one. There's a book that I read recently on natural gas in North America, how it's traded. It's like the primer that they give to people that join the desks in New York or Chicago, wherever they may sit. And I recommend this to anyone that has like an intellectual curiosity in this, because the amount of stuff the amount of systems it takes to get things from where they pull it out to your stove is absolutely fascinating and teaches you a lot about markets. It's pretty cool.
I love it. All right, good. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Oh man, that's a tricky one. Look inward. I know we talked about it, but that's probably the number one guiding factor. Look inward.
Awareness is key. My last question is, to companies who, don't think that machine learning or AI is a fit for them, one thing that they should be thinking differently about is
their competitors and collecting data. I'd say the one thing is you should collect data, even if you don't think you need the AI for it now. Just collect the data. It's
you'll
very
need it later.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. You gotta, whether you think you're in a space where you have to start looking into things or not, you got to maybe make some of the moves to be prepared for tomorrow. So I love what you're saying. Tell people who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you, Luke.
It's typically enterprise-sized companies. You have a machine learning project and you need a ringer, you'd hit me up, and myself and my team would come and join your team, whether you have data science or not, and we would help get that project over the finish line.
Great. Tell them your name, your number, website, everything.
Oh yeah, you can reach me basically on LinkedIn. That's the fastest way. Most people don't like to call, right? So you can find me, Luke Arrigoni, on LinkedIn, or you can reach me at my website, arricor.com. That's ARRICOR.com.
All right, Luke, I appreciate you being on the show today and educating us on something that I think many people need to get unstuck about, which is machine learning, AI, how to incorporate it into their business, what works, what doesn't work, why it needs to work, whether or not, if not now, in the near future. So thanks for sharing that. Think community, if Luke can help you and you're thinking in ways that you can be evolving your business with machine learning and AI, it's worth at least a phone call to explore and dive in. Luke, I appreciate your time and your wisdom. And community, thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks for having me.